Hello and welcome to my first bit of coverage for the Midnight Beta. In this video I'm just going to be going over some of the stuff that wasn't explicitly stated in the patch notes, or some things that you might be worrying about, or some things that you might be thinking about in terms of balancing and that sort of thing. Starting off with the base tree, there's only a couple things worth mentioning. The first thing is chi transfer. I was wondering if this would factor in the entire damage Touch of Death did, or if it wouldn't register overkill damage. Thankfully, it heals for the full amount, so this is basically sort of like a victory rush type thing for Windwalker. So that's cool. The other thing was Zenith Stomp. I was wondering if this talent would put Zenith, which is our new cooldown, on the global cooldown. It doesn't, thankfully. So it just does a bunch of upfront damages off GCD. That's awesome. It is, however, already nerfed in PvP down to 33% effectiveness. It's a bit unfortunate, but I can see why. Beyond that, though, there isn't too much else in here. Obviously, we've lost Clash. I'm not going to go over every single talent because you can just sort of read this stuff on Wowhead and patch notes, and you probably already have. So instead of me just yammering on about it, I'll just move on. The Windwalker tree is up next, and I've done some testing on damage for a bunch of stuff, and it's a bit surprising. So, first thing is Sunkick damage is doing pretty well at the moment, because of the bonus mastery you get from Sunfire Spiral. Obviously we still have Rising Star, the just base 20% increase in crit from Zwen's Battle Gear. So Sunkick is actually doing pretty well. But the surprising things are Jadefire Stomp, and I guess not so surprising Slicing Winds, but it's just, it hits really hard. But I will show you. So Jadefire Stomp got buffed by like 400, 500% or something in the latest set of patch notes for Windwalker. That's not actually reflected in the tooltip damage though, because it hits way harder than it says. So if I just press a Fist of Fury, and then it goes off, Jadefire Stomp, 14,000 nature damage. That's a lot. 14,000 in comparison to, let's say I Sunkick someone, 6k. Jade's doing more than double the damage of a Sunkick. Automatically going off global after a Fist of Fury. You don't even have to fully channel the Fist of Fury. You know, you can just go like this, bang, just goes off straight away after cancelling. So that hits way harder than I was thinking, and I'm glad it does, because Jadefire Stomp, at least back in Shadowlands I was excited for it, and it did good damage, and then they nerfed it. So at least now it does something. Now, the other thing is Slicing Winds. Now we can really amp up the damage of this if we spec into this, which increases magical damage by 15%. That would also buff Jadefire Stomp, by the way. So base damage of Slicing Winds says 11,000 nature damage. This buffs it by 100%, which I think is ridiculous, but it costs 2 chi to cast. I just press it, 16k or a 32.6k crit. It's insane. And yes, Jadefire Stomp is also hitting hard too. These two can be used in combination very effectively as well, because you can Fist of Fury. I didn't have chi for it, and then, you know, after the Fist of Fury ends, you can immediately cast Slicing Winds, assuming you had chi, and then they both hit very close to each other. It's like a 16k Jadefire Stomp into a 33k Slicing Winds. It's like more health than I have, almost. Right? It's nuts. And that's without Zenith up. That could hit 10% harder. So both of these abilities are hitting insanely hard right now. The other thing that's doing pretty good is Rushing Wind Kick, but Rushing Wind Kick is more situational. Reason being is because it splits its damage to all targets that it hits. Not going to be good into any sort of pet comp or anything like that, but in a 1v1, it's actually pretty good. The only downside is you need to get a Blackout Kick proc first, and then the Blackout Kick proc has a chance to proc this. I've spec'd into Echo Technique, so when I use Strike of the Windlord, it guarantees me a Blackout Kick proc. So during a burst, you can Windlord, you get a free Blackout Kick. If that procs Wind Kick, you can use that. Cool thing about Wind Kick, it doesn't share a cooldown with Sunkick, so I'll try and get a proc. Maybe I'll just get it up front here. No, try again. No, unbelievable. There we go, okay. So 6.7k nature damage in a 25-yard cone. Press it, bang. and then I can Sunkick immediately after. Now that did 5.2k to one, 11.1k to the other. This would pretty much crit for 20,000 nature damage. That's not bad. As something that can, you know, regularly, or maybe not regularly, but it can just proc through your rotation. That's pretty good. And especially something that has a very solid chance of proccing during your burst, like after a Windlord. Not bad at all. I think that would seriously be a good choice in one-on-ones. Especially if you don't want to spec into Slicing Winds, like at least you've got something else that hits hard. But into anything that's got pets and stuff, Rushing Wind Kick is going to suffer a little bit. However, you might be able to get around it just by facing a certain direction and that sort of thing. Depends on if you want to, you know, micromanage that. But all in all, I like Wind Kick. I'm glad that we have it. But now we can talk about hero talents, and we'll start with Shado-Pan. So, Shado-Pan Windwalker, you've probably seen already, Flurry Strikes procs off of Fist of Fury now. But also, Flurry Strikes stacks up to 30 instead of 10. And you can consume all 30 in one go. And also, they brought in the tier set into the tree, so you activate your cooldown, Zenith, you instantly get 10 stacks. That 10 stacks is separate from this set. So if I press Zenith, there's my 30, and there's my bonus 10. And then when I Fist of Fury, bang, 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 40 Flurry Strikes. It's pretty cool. I really like that. The capstone is no longer the Shado-Pan buffs, and it's no longer the guy that gets summoned. It is instead your Sun Kicks and your Crane Kicks launch 3 Flurry Strikes when used during Zenith. So, if I go into it, I press Sun Kick, 3 Flurry Strikes. Crane Kick, same thing. Crane Kick, Sun Kick, Crane Kick, just Flurry Strikes everywhere. It's pretty cool. Wind Kick does it too, Sun Kick, Crane Kick. Very cool. Very, very cool. The other talents worth mentioning, you've got Combat Stance, reduces the cooldown of roll by 10%. Now, with Lighter Than Air, the base cooldown gets increased, but then this just decreases it. So, from a PvE perspective, it'll take your roll cooldown from 17 down to 15, and in PvP, because Lighter Than Air is nerfed, it'll go from 19 seconds to 17 seconds. The other option is Initiator's Edge, which gives you a 50% movement speed buff every time you enter combat. Not super useful in Arena, because you're just going to be in combat the whole time, pretty much. But in open world, BGs, running old content, that sort of thing, it's very good. And it stacks with other movement speed effects. So if I proc it, there's 50%, and then a target's lost, and there you go. Pretty damn quick. But that pretty much wraps up Shado-Pan, so I guess I'll talk about Conduit now. So Conduit has been changed a little bit. You might have seen that Zen is no longer in the Windwalker tree, it is now in the Conduit tree. And it also works differently. So after you cast Zen, Conduit is usable within a minute of doing that. This basically makes Conduit a 2-minute cooldown, or a 1.5 if you spec into Zen's Bombed. The alternative option is a 5% damage amp while Zen is active. Essentially a second cooldown you can stack. So if we actually go ahead and use it, if I summon Zen, he does his thing, goes in, does whatever, and then now I can actually cast Conduit within the next minute. So then I use it, does its thing, and there you go. And that's it. And it still gives you all the same benefits as it currently does. Now, I don't really like that they have to be used in this way. I would prefer if the cooldowns were separate. I get why they're consolidating stuff, but I just preferred it the old way. But on the plus side, the other stuff has gotten better. Celestial Conduit is no longer doing split damage, but it is instead doing reduced damage beyond 5 targets. And then on top of that, Conduit does double damage on a single target, reduced by 20% per additional target. So on the tooltip it says it does 32k nature damage. It'll do 64. It'll do 64, or in this case 65k nature damage on a single target. I'm not factoring in the PvP nerf to Conduit here, but you know, 46% extra bonus damage from Mastery, That's more health than I have. So I suspect Conduit's going to be a little bit broken, at least in the beta. Until we get some proper PvP gear in that, we're not going to know for sure, but I'm fairly certain this is going to just solo people. The other thing worth mentioning is Heart of the Jade Serpent, still the same, but the set bonus, which is currently on live, which procs off of you using Slicing Winds, has been transferred into using Zenith instead. So when you use a cooldown, Windlord is most of the time going to be like your opening button. You just get both the buffs immediately, instead of having to cast Slicing Winds, which is super annoying. This is good because it no longer pigeonholes you into running Slicing Winds just for the sake of getting this. It just works off your cooldown now, so it's a great change. And it still works in the same way in that they both stack with each other. So, just to showcase how strong that is, if you haven't seen this talent, this increases the duration of Fist of Fury by 1 second, effectively giving it another tick. I'm going to Zenith Windlord and cast Fist of Fury. You'll see how fast it channels. Zenith Windlord, Fist of Fury, bang, 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 bang. It channels in 1.1 second. It's nuts. It's so quick. Base channel speed is 4.3. So I suspect that Conduit is going to be heavily based around this 30-second window where you Windlord, and then you Fist of Fury, and then those minute goes when you stack it with Zenith. You just do this rapid fire Fist of Fury, and each tick's getting the bonus damage from momentum boost, each tick's getting the damage benefit potentially from the Tiger Brew capstone, or the Apex talent. I think that's going to be crazy. Because keep in mind, every tick of Fist of Fury, or rather every instance of damage of Fist of Fury, buffs the next hit by 10%. So if you've got 5 targets in front of you, the first hit will do standard damage, but then the next one will do 50% more, then 100, then 150, and then it caps at 150. But then we've also got this added modifier on top of that, giving you a chance equal to your crit to increase your Fist of Fury damage each time it does damage. So again, 5 targets, if you've got, a 20% chance, let's say, a 20% crit chance, 1 in 5. By the time that you do all the hits, the final tick of Fist of Fury will do 75% bonus damage, stacked on top of the 150 you get from Momentum Boost. I know I'm kind of just yapping here, but basically a lot, right? And all of that is going to happen in a 1 second Fist of Fury channel. Like, it's crazy good. I suspect this is going to do quite a lot of damage. But for now, I am sticking with Shado-Pan because I love this Flurry Strike redesign. But with the hero talents covered, that's pretty much a wrap for now. I will do damage testing in PvP. Once I get someone that I can actually fight and do damage tests on, I will showcase the burst and see how it actually feels. Unfortunately, I can't transfer my main monk over. I've tried over and over again, the beta's just not letting me transfer my monk over. So I'm going to have to deal with just having this sort of base gear, unfortunately. But I will do what I can. In the meantime, we'll just wait for more changes. Hopefully the PvP vendors and all that stuff will come out soon, and then we can really start having fights and doing proper testing. But for now, just a sort of preview of things to expect. In short, Conduit's probably broken, Jadefire Stomp is broken, Slicing Winds is broken, Wind Kick's pretty good, got a Victory Rush, Zenith Stomp, not bad. Overall, very good. So to summarize my closing thoughts, I'm really happy. Alright, I'm really, really happy. Zenith being a thing, not having to use Stormwolf and Fire anymore is a huge win. The fact that I can just press a burst cooldown, look at the tooltip on one of my abilities and see that it just goes up by 10%. It's marvelous. The redesign for Flurry Strikes for Shado-Pan is awesome. I like that it goes up to a higher stack count. I like that it triggers off of Fist of Fury. I'm glad they brought in the set bonus. I'm happy with this movement speed thing. I'm glad we have Wind Kick. I'm happy that Jadefire Stomp is doing damage. Mixed feelings about Slicing Winds hitting as hard as it does, but we'll see. And unpopular opinion, I'm glad I don't have to run Dragon Punch. I'm really glad, because I hate how Dragon Punch roots you in place when you press it. Can't stand it. So yeah, until I get some people to fight and until they bring out the PvP vendors and stuff, I guess we'll just wait until the next update. So, I will speak to you guys in the next video. Take care.